and welcome back. We're examining the Bible purely for the sake of examining it to see what might be in there. Leviticus 23, 3 and 4. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath day of rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. Now, if you've watched any of the previous videos, you know that we have looked at holy convocations, we have looked at feasts, and we have looked at seasons. And holy convocations is a sacred or a set-apart rehearsal, and the feasts of the Lord and the seasons of the Lord are the appointed times that He has made. God has made an appointment. If you make a doctor's appointment, you show up. If you make a business appointment, you show up. Well, the Creator has made an appointment with you, and He wants you to show up. Exodus 31, 12 through 17. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord that sanctifies you. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defiles it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever does any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days shall work be done, but in the seventh is a Sabbath of rest, holy to the Lord. Whosoever does any work in the Sabbath day, he will surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day He rested and was refreshed. Okay, so the Sabbath is a sign between Israel and the Creator, that they believe that He is the Creator. The image, of course, being working 6 days and resting on the seventh is a model of what the Creator did, and that believing in His creation is demonstrated by us by respecting the week that He gave us. Deuteronomy 31, verse 12. Gather the people together, men and women and children, and the stranger that is within your gates, that they may hear, that they may learn, and fear the Lord your God, to observe, to do all the works of the law. So, from this we see that my phone is ringing. The Sabbath is a sign forever. It is with the children of Israel. And strangers were instructed to keep all the words of the law. 2 Peter 3:8 says, But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. Now everyone is excited about the 1,000-year reign of the Messiah. And God has given us a weekly observance to celebrate and rehearse that future event. Why would we not esteem that day as the gift that it is? Okay, we're going to go to Colossians 2, starting at verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. Okay, Paul is obviously pitting two things against each other. Those things are the traditions of men and the rudiments of the world versus Christ. Now, the problem that Jesus had with the Pharisees was not that they kept the law. His problem that he had with them was that they allowed their traditions to nullify the law. Matthew 16:5 and Mark 7:13 are the two accounts in the Gospels. So you can take a look at those. For in him, continuing in Colossians, the 2nd chapter, for in him dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and you are complete in him, which is the head of all principality and power, in whom you are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, in putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ, buried with him in baptism, wherein also you are risen with him through the faith of the operation of God, who has raised him from the dead. Buried with him in baptism, wherein also you are risen with him through faith of the operation of God, who has raised him from the dead. And you, being dead in your sins, and in the uncircumcision of your flesh, he has quickened together with him, having forgiven you of all your trespasses. Now, all these verses are basically telling us of our identity in the Messiah. We are buried with him in baptism. We are risen with him through the faith, and because God has raised him from the dead. Now, one of the most twisted scriptures in the Bible, the next verse. Blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to his cross. I hear regularly Christians say, Jesus nailed the law to the cross. That is not what this says. Ordinances is dogma. Dogma is the man-made rules of religion. It is not the Torah. King David, tells us the Torah is a light to his feet, and it is the thing that makes him wiser than his enemies. It is a joy. It is a blessing. How could it ever be thought of as against us? The only way it could be thought of that way is by not knowing what it is. Continuing in Colossians, and having spoiled principalities and powers, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over them. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in the respect of a holy day or of the new moon or of Sabbath days, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. The new moon is how God said his calendar should be reckoned. The holy days and the Sabbaths that are a shadow of things to come must be those that are decreed by the Creator. They are not whatever days you pick. This passage is not a license to choose a different day to call holy. It is telling us to not be judged by the world because we are keeping God's commandments. It is telling us not to be judged by the world because we choose to eat what he said was good to eat, and we are not eating what he said not to eat. Continuing in this chapter, we see in verses 20 and 22, or 20 through 22, the question, why, if you are dead to the world system? Are you subject to its ordinances? And again, it is the ordinances of the world Paul is exposing here. It is not the Torah.